What a dismal day for it. Never mind, I had to come here, and I will be back in the summer when you can see it in its full glory. But this place is an excellent example of just how special an ex-chalk pit can be if it's done right. First things first, there's a toilet back in a mow. That's better. Officially relieved. And let's just take a quick moment's shelter in this hide. There we go. We're going to walk around the perimeter. It's about 2 miles altogether. I'm having serious problems here already. I knew it was raining, that much was obvious, so I brought the brolly with me to protect the camera. But it's blowing a flipping gale as well, so I can't use the brolly. It's just getting blown inside out constantly. This might be a bit interesting in terms of how it's filmed, because I'm basically going to have to put the brolly away and walk around with my hand over the end of the camera and hope for the best. Now this place is all thanks to a late great local legend called Graham Atkins. Now back in the 70s and the 80s, when this was a chalk pit, just like so many dozens of others around here, Graham Atkins was a driver for Castle Cement. It was Castle Cement who operated the site. And I remember when I was a kid, actually, you could drive by the road up there and it was still a working quarry. You could see the works from the road, and a big tower with Castle Cement on it. And I think it was in 1991 it went out of use as a quarry. And this guy Graham, who worked here, he got it into his head that rather than let it revert to farmland, and I saw him interviewed on this subject, he had some interesting things to say about it. Rather than let it be turned back into farmland, and not very good farmland either, because it's just solid chalk. It would have cost a lot of money and taken a long time to return this to fertile soil. So he came up with the idea, well, let's make use of it. Let's flood the whole lot. We'll make some shallow areas, we'll make some deep areas. We'll have a visitor centre, and we'll turn it into a really special nature reserve, which it is. I mean, bearing in mind that this is only, what, 30 years old now. This came out of use quite a bit later than Sundon Pit and Houghton Pit. But you go to Sundon Pit and Houghton Pit and all you can see is bare chalk with a few trees and bushes starting to take hold, starting to reclaim the land. Here, Graham and his team over the last 30 years intervened, and they've intentionally taken it towards a nature reserve with great effect. I'm really familiar with a lot of the ex-chalk pits around here. I love them. They're really decent places, and they're all what you could probably call fledgling nature reserves. They've got the protection. There is a slight amount of management going on at most of them. I'm not sure about Sundon, to be honest, but plenty of the others, they are being managed as nature reserves and wildlife spots. But this one, they really took the bull by the horns. And this guy Graham, he was so passionate about the place, and his team of local volunteers, they really got on top of it, and they built every single habitat that you could possibly want for the native birds and the migratory birds. Now I'm here at obviously completely the wrong time of year. All of that you can see over there in the summer. That's all huge wildflower meadows. At the moment it's just pretty bare looking grass and chalk and mud. If I was here in the summer, I'd be able to see all of the wildflower species, all of the butterflies, all of the dragonflies, plenty of amphibians and lizards even. this time of year, it's January, we're not going to see that much, and I'll come back in the right weather at the right time of year when it's just going to look absolutely gorgeous. Not that this doesn't look gorgeous, I like bleak. As long as I'm warm and dry, I do like a bit of bleak. Just popped into a hide for a second. The bloke at the gate who I was talking to was telling me that this sort of northern half of the lakes is 60 foot deep. Whereas where we came in down there, you could see lots of little islands and shallows for the wading birds. This is the deeper water for the gulls. And it made me wonder, do they get cormorants? I'd like to find out, because when I was down the sort of Epping Forest area and the Lee Valley into the Epping Forest, you used to see cormorants all the time. And we're only, what, 50 miles away here? It's not that far. And I never see cormorants. Now looking across what in the summer would be a glorious wildflower meadow, over there you can see, I think that's what they call Millennium Woods. Now apparently, he told me on the way in that over there they've got some siskins and some long-tailed tits. Every bone in my body is instinctively telling me to climb up that and have a look from the top. But this is one of those places where you are under strict orders to only stick to the footpath. Now what do we have here? I'm not quite sure, but I'm aware of the fact that dotted around the nature reserve we've got, oh, that's clearly a chalk excavating wheel, isn't it? I don't know what the proper term is. It's like a massive version of something I'd quite like to have on my angle grinder. They've got lots of this old sort of thing here. They've got old chalk excavating equipment, and they've also got lots of vintage agricultural equipment, which I'm looking forward to seeing. So what we got here? 1985 it started to fill up as a lake. They started excavating in 1968. I'm looking forward to seeing a few more of these. I know from pictures that I've seen they've got old tractors, rotavators, etc. I don't know where. I'm expecting to stumble across them at some point. Yeah, so Graham Atkins, rather than see the ex-quarry just return to farmland, much as they've done at Tottenham, you have got the bottom corner of the ex-Tottenham pit, which is Sewell basically. That's all a nature reserve. But the other end of it, near a town, that's all been turned into farmland. And at the time that the pit fell out of use, as I said in this interview, he explained that we had butter mountains and milk mountains, and people were being paid not to use their land. And the authorities were looking at spending a fortune turning this chalk desert into usable farmland. At which point he decided, oh, here we go. Oh, that's a big one. Look. He decided to approach the authorities and suggest that this was actually turned into a nature reserve, which they did, and it's lovely. I wonder whose nest that was last summer. And that one. Right, now things I frustratingly can't see today are Ivanhoe Beacon, which is just behind there. I'm hoping maybe once I get over that side I might be able to see it. The other thing I can't see is any flipping birds. Now I remember seeing on the map that this is the perimeter path, but if I want to go through that Millennium Wood and possibly see a siskin or a long-tailed tit, I might be better off taking this path. Albeit a bit more quietly, maybe. I can hear a robin over there. And I just saw a very small little titty type bird with a long downward pointing tail just dart through there. Tits, boobies, cocks, bustards. Where did they get their flipping names from? In there, just behind this this little U. That was a long-tailed tit. This little U here is actually planted in memory of somebody, Natalie Claire Adams, who died in 2001. Oh, and she was only born in 72. She died young. Well, anyway, Natalie Claire Adams, I can't think of anything better than a yew tree. You could be here for another 4,000 years. Well, I've not got one on camera because they're quick little buggers. But long-tailed tits, yes. I've seen little fleeting. There was another one. They're actually, even out the corner of your eye, quite easy to spot because of that long, you know, they look a bit like a wagtail. As for siskins, I've not seen any because, to be honest, I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head exactly what a siskin looks like. I know it's a little brown job. That's all I can tell you, and little brown jobs are a bit of a problem area for me. I can tell a dunnock from a sparrow. Robins, they're obvious, although females and juveniles can be a bit tricky. Wrens, they're easy because they're just so damn small. There aren't any other birds in the UK that I commonly see, and that I'm aware of, as small as a wren. But as for things like siskins, I'm not quite so sure. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but I can hear a fair bit of activity in those woods. That's another thing. I wish I was better with identifying bird song. There she is, my beacon. When I've seen the beacon and I've seen a few tits, anything else is a bonus. Long-tailed tits, there they are, right there. I just need one to move so that you can see it. They are right there. Oh, don't go deeper into the... Oh. Trust me, I'm about 4 metres away from a little flock of them. Pitstone Hill over there. Apparently that's got sections of Grimm's Ditch on it. I've been to Pitstone Hill before, but I never noticed anything that looked like Grimm's Ditch. Might have to go up there one day for a wander. See what's around. gnats in January. That's how mild it is. Now I noticed, looking at the OS map, and also looking at the satellite image on Google, that there doesn't appear to be any watercourses flowing in or out of these lakes. So the guy who was at the gate when I came in, I asked him, where does the water come from? Is there a spring in there somewhere under all that water? He said it's literally just a combination of the water table and rainfall, which says to me this must be a fair bit lower down, a fair bit closer to sea level than Houghton Pit and Sundon Pit are, because although Houghton Pit has got that little mole lake which is aquifer fed, and Sundon Pit has some areas which I think are basically just rainwater, this one has actually been dug down deep enough that they've hit the water table, and that's where the majority of this is coming from. Now he did say to me something which was very encouraging. He said that over the last 2 or 3 years the water table has risen a lot. He said there were islands in there which over the last couple of years have become submerged. Now I'm pleased to hear that, because anybody who's interested in chalk streams and the aquifers around the Chilterns knows that that water table is, over the long course, it's dropping, and the winterbournes are disappearing and the chalk streams are disappearing. But the fact that just here they've noticeably had the water table rising up from the aquifer, that's really good news in my opinion. Probably pretty much all the way round now. I think the visitors centre's just tucked away round there. Now I'm not usually big into visitors centres, but we will pop in there because it's so quiet here today. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have the place to myself pretty much. And I came here armed with very little knowledge, really. It would be nice to go in that visitors centre and just fill in a few gaps maybe. There's something they've put in place for the lizards and the snakes. In the summer, obviously. Looking at the website before I came, they've got an amazing variety of lizards and snakes, considering this is the UK, where we hardly see any of them really. I think they had 4 different types of snake and 2 types. There was another long-tailed tit there. 4 different types of snakes and 2 different types of lizards. You've got to hand it to Graham Atkins, ain't you? What a visionary. Bloke was a hero. He got it in his head that instead of turning it into vaguely profitable landscape destroying farmland, get your hands on it and turn it into this. And he stuck with it. He stuck with it, and look what he did. Nice weather for you lot. I can think of easier lunches. I'll very definitely come back here in the summer, without a doubt, because when you're up on the downs in the summer, at this time of year, if you're up on the downs, it's just grass and chalk and mud. You go up there in the summer, there's wildflowers all over the place, including quite a few rare ones. There's orchids galore, you know, really nice to look at. And I'm convinced that if I come back here in the summer, that big meadow area back there, that'll be quite a sight to behold. And you never know, if I'm really, really lucky, might even see a lizard or a snake. I've never ever seen a wild lizard or snake in the UK. Not even a slow worm. I've never even seen a slow worm. And I know they're pretty common on certain allotments, just not mine. Now for a 2.2 mile walk, which I've very nearly finished now, I'm almost back where I started, where we'll go into the visitor centre. For a 2.2 mile walk, that's pretty damn easy actually. Not much in the way of hills. And if you really want to, you can do the entire circuit on a hard standing. I've diverted off a few times and gone through a few little interesting bits on a few muddy areas, but if you were a bit more immobile than I am, well, if you're me in 10 years' time, you can come here and actually do a full circuit on a really nice proper concrete path. Not my chosen route at the moment, but one day I might need that. That whole lack of cormorants situation has been bugging me today. I don't get it, because when I was in, you know, like the Southern Lee Valley, Epping Forest, even over to Tottenham Marshes, Walthamstow, no not Walthamstow, that area, right? You'd always see herons, egrets, cormorants. Now I see herons and egrets here, but not cormorants. I don't understand why. They're big, impressive birds. They're always, you know, you're always pleased to see one. And I used to see them all the time. I'd like to look that up and find out why we don't get cormorants in the Chiltern Hills. Back at the visitor area now. Just gonna have a quick pop inside Graham's hide. I presume that means Graham Atkins, the man who did. Let's see what sort of view we get from his favourite spot. You can see we've got these hides dotted all over the place around the site. It's all well put together. This might well have been his spot. There's a hole in the floor in the cafe, and it's really badly glaring, this bit of glass. It's got mammoth tusks and mammoth teeth in it, as examples of the sort of thing you'll find buried in the chalk here. I don't think they found mammoths here, but what they have found from the Cretaceous period, and this is all from the chalk here at the pit, here at the lake: ammonites, gastropods, bivalves, sponges, all dug out of the chalk here. More ammonites.
Oh my goodness, look in here, Sophia, there's a spider.
Gastropods.
That's just a 10 spider.
Sorry about them children, I'll massacre them later. And then on to the Pleistocene. Mammoth tusks. Here's an adult mammoth tooth, although I have seen much bigger. And there's some juvenile mammoth teeth. Like I said, I don't think they've ever actually found a mammoth here, but there's an example. Well, I think that's a great little place, and they do a decent cup of tea in a proper cup. I just spent a £5 in the gift shop on some fossils. These are like £2.50 each, these little sets. Brilliant. Just a sec. Right, look. Nice little set there for £2.50. And a similar little pack. Although it contains a shark's tooth. And I'm not sure that, strictly speaking, is actually fossilised. I think it's just a shark's tooth. Whereas everything else has clearly turned to stone. I think that is literally just a shark's tooth. Anyway, good value that. And I don't mind. I don't mind buying a cup of tea and something from the gift shop with somewhere like this because they need the money. Can't think of a better cause, to be honest. Right, that was all very enjoyable. Nice little local day out, and a shining example of what all the old chalk pits around here could and should look like. They're all on their way. They're all on their way, but this one really stands out. So I'm going to enjoy my cup of tea. Just taking the view for a last minute. And I'll see you all next week. Take care.